All right, I'm live. Hello. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I hope all are well on today. Today is Thursday, so it's Learning with KHARIS are back. And the purpose of Learning with KHARIS is to share some quick nuggets concerning nonprofits and business success, acceleration, growth, to all those great things in your lunch hour. And after a few shares and making sure that all is well, going to get started. Okay. All right, making sure that we're all set. So, again, it's Learning with KHARIS, and who's KHARIS? So it's not like a middle name or anything. I operate the KHARIS Group, where I consult with nonprofits, communities, and small businesses in the areas of strategic planning, leadership development, and specifically grant writing when it comes to fundraising. Although I do help and assist my clients gladly with particular campaign uh, causes, and to which I have some exciting news I will share later about one of the success stories of my clients who's already, we set a $50,000 campaign goal over the next couple of months. And in the last 2 days, they have secured $10,000. So I'm expanding my repertoire for sure. But the KHARIS group, I am just excited to be able to work with nonprofits, with small businesses, with people that do great things, and they need a consultant that comes along and say, hey, I have these great ideas, or we have these great ideas, we have these great programs, but here are our areas of need. Whether you want someone to come in and offer a leadership retreat, that we need to get our board on board, right, with our programs. And if you have a business idea and you are trying to figure out what is that next right move, I've noticed that we have a plethora of services that are geared towards teaching you how to be all things business and be all things nonprofits. And myself, I offer those services. I also know that you need that in between consulting, that you need, how do I morph this idea? How do I get it off the ground? How do I ensure that the ideas that we have in our head can be communicated and shared with a broader audience? And that's where I come in at. So that's the work that I do under the KHARIS group. And what I'm going to do as I am waiting and for others to jump in or get all this out the way, I am going to put in, let me make sure that you, let's see, I'm going to put in my calendar link so that if you are interested in a free consultation to hear more about the services that I offer and to see how those services could benefit your business or organization, then we need to connect. So there's that. Okay. Oh, some sauce. So last week, we talked about how to maximize and network well at conferences and events. And the reason why I wanted to share that information, because this is a season and high time for conferences and things to take place. And we have to, our time is valuable, right? And we want to ensure that we maximize the spaces that we are in. And of course, if you have been following me, then you know the 2022 Nonprofit and Business Summit is underway, set for Friday, March 4th. So what I want to share are tips and skills that you can learn now that when you come and when you register and then come to the conference, you'll be able to maximize them for your organization's success. So let me do this one. Let me make sure. Okay. Alrighty. So this is what we are going to do. I'm saying so a lot. All right. Let's talk about how we raise money at conferences. That's the subject. Because I almost kind of forgot what we were talking about today. Just throwing in like a kitchen sink thing today. So anywho, the purpose of learning how do we raise money for our businesses or nonprofits at conferences. And I know you're probably saying that is the furthest thing from my mind. And this may not be the space that you are in, but when you are in a season of need with your nonprofit, you're growing your business, you're trying to scale, there are opportunities. Well, we should maximize opportunities in any space. And when you are a nonprofit, to be honest, you're always fundraising. It may not be a direct ask. I think I had a pause there. So it may not be a direct ask, right? But we're always in this mode of saying, I need to get the work that I do out to as many people as I can. And for the efforts, right, of bringing in new volunteers, more supporters, donors. And so one of the aspects at conferences that may not be talked about, but we're going to dive deep into today, not deep, but as much as we can for the time that's allotted for today's Learning with KHARIS. We're going to talk about how do we raise money at conferences. So as someone who is a professional event hostess and who host events, and when I say professional event hostess, I'm not talking about like these grandeur baby showers or anything. That's not my cup of tea. I'm literally talking about putting on professional events for the aspect of learning and networking, and I've done that well over near 10 years now and do it multiple times a year for various things. And one of the things that I am very cautious of and intentional about is creating spaces not for my company or myself to look good, but I truly, truly care about the lasting impact and the experience of people who come into the spaces that I'm afforded and blessed to host. And so I haven't talked about this area honestly at all. I think maybe over the last 6 years I've hosted the nonprofit summit or any other area. I'm always talking about networking and maximizing relationships and taking up space. But today I want to talk about funding needs that we have. If you are growing a business and you want to scale, there's funding needs. If you have a nonprofit and you are trying to get it off the ground or expand a program, there are funding needs. So how do we maximize that when we're talking to other people? So let me give you a few tips as we do that. And again, all of these tips are going to be transferable and things that you can implement at the 22 Nonprofit and Business Summit. You can find that on Facebook under the KHARIS group. I'm also going to link it here after I give you these 3 nuggets. It's only 3 today, and I'll let you get out of here. And thank you for joining. So what's the first tip that we can do to raise money and raise funding at conferences and events? We want to know first who is in the room. Now we have a couple of indicators of who is in the room. So for instance, the 2022 Nonprofit and Business Summit page hosted by KHARIS. And if you go on that page, you can find people who have submitted their or maybe as far as blah blah blah. Let me get this out. The 2022 Nonprofit and Business Summit page, they submitted their they're going, or maybe, right? They've indicated their interest in the summit. Now, not everyone will do that. So for me, there are plenty of conferences not do that often. For one, on the personal knows, like, well, everyone doesn't need to know my business. And then two, if I do that, I do that intentionally so that maybe the networking group that I have can see the next event I'm going to attend, and I can share that as a reminder. But the best indicator, let me say, but that does give you some the inclinations of who will be in the room. So look at the Facebook pages of events and see who's confirmed or maybe going, and that can also give you a mindset to say, hey, I'm going to map out who I want to talk to, right? And we're going to talk about pitching, but first we just want to know who is in the room. And the second thing that can also indicate who is going to be attending the event when we're talking about raising money, who we need to speak with at conferences, is by looking at the sponsors. So for my conference, for example, I invite the sponsors to attend because I want them to present about their entity and, of course, give them the spotlight for, brief spotlight. Also let you know that if they've sponsored, my event and other events, that they could possibly be potential suitors for your endeavors. So we don't have to complicate trying to figure out who is in the room. It's not like that you can call, especially if you're not a sponsor, and say, hey, who is the attendance list? I need that. You the face look at the sponsorship list. And so, again, you can be able to map out. If you recall from last week, how to network well at events, and if you did not watch that, just go and catch the replay. You don't have a lot of time. You can't talk to the 100 people in the room. So you want to identify at least 3 to 5 people that I need to speak with before I leave. And even if you don't do the pre-work, you can go into the room and make sure it's on, and you can assess the room as well to see who will be at the conferences and who you need to speak with. So this says I'm paused on that. So I hope it just flowed. Okay. That's tip number 1. We're going to know who is in the room. Tip number 2, know what you want to pitch about. So again, we're talking about raising money. You don't have a lot of time when you are speaking with someone. You need to have in your mind that I'm only probably going to have about 5 to 7 minutes. And that's a long time as well. But if the conversation gets really engaging, it's not, as long. But if you're wanting to hold someone's attention, we need to know what we are going to be saying. And we want to know the who, the what, the why, when, and where. Especially if you're going to a representative from a sponsoring company. It's not this invasion, right? Like, hey, I have this business idea. I need your money. We're not doing anything of the sort, right? We're going to extend the pleasantries, and we're going to smile. We're going to smile. And upon their ask about what it is that you do, the work that you do, the business that you have, that's when we're going to interject that, hey, I actually have been operating our nonprofit for the past 3 years, and we're knee deep and heavy into this capital campaign to construct our community, let's say, we can say community center, right in the heart of the neighborhood that we serve. So are you interested in hearing more about that? Right? Invite them into the space, respect their time, and you will be surprised at how when you are courteous and when you are conscious of people's time, then give people, gather my words, and then give people the invitation to come into the journey, and then to figure out how they can add value to the space. The conversation will be easier for you and for them, right? So, we want to have our pitch together. We want to understand what it is that we're going to speak about, but we don't want to do it so evasive that people are turned off and say, hey, this is not the time or the place, but it's an invitation. We want to invite people into the journey of how they can support. That's our tip number 2. We're talking about conferences and how we can raise funds at conferences. Now, let me just do a reset if you are just tuning in. It's Learning with KHARIS on Thursdays. I offer tips and tools of how we can maximize our successes through knowledge and strategic planning and leadership and all of those good things. And so I share these tips in hopes that you implement them and that you see transformational success with the advice that you receive from Learning with KHARIS. All righty. So we've been covering conference raising. I've given you the first 2 tips. 1, we want to know who is in the room. And then 2, we want to know what we're pitching about. And remember, we are inviting people into the conversation. We're letting them know the idea. And then from there, we're extending another ask of, would you like to hear more? So pause, let them answer it. It's not one of those, I'm going to ask the question and then it's like, you know what? Yes, you do. So let me go ahead and tell you about it. No, we're going to be courteous, right? And it makes a difference. And more than likely, people will just want to hear more about it unless they just really have to go. So just be patient with the conversation. And our third tip is we're going to ask if not only, so we have 2 questions. Not only are we asking them if they want to hear more about it, and after we've told them the who, what, when, where, how, and the project scope, then we're going to invite them in to say, hey, do you think this is something your business would like to support? Are there people that I can speak with to offer a presentation? Can we meet for a coffee and have a private setting? Right, we're going to follow up with now a direct connection. So we're not asking, right, for $50,000 at someone else's event. We're not doing that. But what we are asking is for the opportunity to be able to engage further after we've intrigued them with our very small pitch. We've invited them into the conversation. They are excited about it. Now, the follow-up is it something that you want to support? Or who do I need to, be in contact with that can make that decision and we can all get into the room together? And that's when they will share the information, say, hey, let's set up a meeting. Here's my contact information, or here is our director of operations and here's their contact information. But whatever that step is, make sure you're appreciative of it and you say, hey, I am going to do just that, and get their email as well, especially if they are giving you someone else's email. And here's why. Because they made the introduction, we are going to email them the next day. So I know people will say, do it that evening. Yeah, you can. But if you're like me, I usually wait like 24 hours. It's okay. But, follow whatever makes you comfortable. But that next day, we are going to email. So either we're going to email them if they say, hey, I'm the woman, I'm the man in that role, we can set up a time to talk. Or if they give you another person's contact information, you are going to email both of them. You're going to email the person that introduced you to the other person in the company and say, hey, Regina, thank you so much for the great conversation, and also for giving me the contact information for Mr. David or Mrs. Rebecca that heads the development department, and I am going to reach out to them and follow up. It could be that they from there, they're like, hey, I've already talked to them about you, and so we're ready to rock and roll, right? So what we're going to do is follow up with the person that made the contact. For me, I also like to say, hey, we're going to have everyone on an email because I'm that person. I'm like, let's just bring us all together. And so I'm going to tell Miss Regina, thank you for connecting us, and then say, hey, Miss Rebecca, I hear you are the great woman to speak with about supporting local nonprofits or supporting businesses that want to scale. And Miss Regina has spoke so fondly of you. How may we connect? So I'm the happy connecting person of everyone involved. But if you want to take it step by step, that's just fine. But what I'm trying to say, all that, and that was a long way to say, don't disrespect the person that gave you the connection, right? We're going to reach out. And then also, they gave you someone else. We're going to tie that all in. And that's important to know because, for one, remember we talked about it's not what you know, it's who you know. So that who you know gives you the lead way in, right, into connecting with the next person. So that's why it's really great to email the person that you met with, and then also email and connect them probably on the same email with to move further with your proposal. So those are the 3 tips that we've had on today of Learning with KHARIS of how we can maximize our connections and raise funds when you are at conferences. And with that, I would like to add you can do all of that and implement these tips of 1, knowing who is in the room, of 2, we know what we want to pitch about, and we also want to invite them into the conversation to hear more about the great work that you are doing and the need that you have. And then 3, we want to email to ensure within 24 hours we're emailing the person that we spoke to, and then email the additional person or people that were referred so that we can connect and then have a larger pitch. And that's how we raise money. I also want to say that we don't want to ever just go and that's the first thing that comes out of our mouths about, hey, I have a need and you have millions of dollars and you should be doing this in the community. Well, it's just, first of all, we want to be professionally intact when we approach. And the second thing is you win over more people with honey than you do vinegar. So let's just be mindful in that when we are going to anyone, when we're asking for support for our business endeavors. So all that to add that you can do this and you can use these tips at the 22 Nonprofit and Business Summit. I'm so excited that I get to host this conference again. This is the 6th year, and it's just one of the greatest things that I get to do. Leaders together for a great day of learning, connecting, and really getting the tools that we need to lead, especially in these times. And the theme of this conference for this year is Leading in Impact After Chaos. We know that it's been a tough 2 years. And so this conference will be one of the great experiences that we could all use and that we all need as far as how do we galvanize our customers and our donors and our supporters, right? How do we take care of ourselves as leaders in this space? And then how do we prepare for the next time that we have these catastrophic events? All of that you will learn and more at the 2022 Nonprofit and Business Summit. You can go on consultcharis.com to learn more information about this summit. But let me do one even better. I'm going to make sure that I add that link. I add that link here in the live feed for your convenience. And you can register today. Early bird registration ends tomorrow, I believe, or this weekend. Maybe this weekend. So after that, the event registration price will go up. So go ahead and register today. It's a day full of wonderful events. You can see more about it at the link that I showed you there and that I've given you. Also, if you believe that your organization or that you as a person, you're starting a business, if you are an aspiring nonprofit leader or a business leader, or you're seasoned and you want a consultant to come in to assist you, whether that's with development plans or strategic development, or leadership training, and or grant writing and fundraising, I would love to have a conversation with you. You can utilize that link that I've sent. That's my calendar, and we can have your free consultation to where I hear more about the work that you are doing, and then I also share with you about my services. And from there, I know that we can find a solution that will benefit your organization, benefit your business, and get you to experience transformational success. I am all about the experience, the value, the result. I I I, I am submitted to the mission of why I started consulting and what it is that I want to do with our leaders. Leaders need support and leaders need assistance. And I think the greatest leader knows that when they just need additional support to help them do what they do well. And that's what I am to nonprofit and business leaders. I'm your additional support, and I love to serve in that role. So I would love to speak with you. Again, you can utilize the calendar link that's in the chat box. And it's Learning with KHARIS. Join me every Thursday at 12:30 p.m. for great tools and tips to help your organization do things well. Alrighty, it has been like a stammering day for me, but we made it. We pushed through. It is what it is. There's no perfect video. And a part of me is like, you know what? I should just record this thing all over. But hey, get the gist of it and get the meat of it and disregard all the rest. Well, alrighty. You have a fantastic day. You can follow more information about the conference on the Facebook page at the 2022 Nonprofit and Business Summit page under KHARIS Group. That's KHARIS. It also has its own event page. You can also message me or the business page, and for sure, myself, someone will get back to you. And I believe that is all the announcements that I have, and I hope to see you at the 22 Summit. And until then, I will see you next Thursday on Learning with KHARIS. Have a fantastic Thursday. Bye-bye.